Hello, dear friend. Thank you for hanging out with a couple of multiples today. We are your hosts, Drew
and Garden System. We are a married couple that both have dissociative identity disorder, or DID.
Our lives are both ordinary and uniquely complex. Perhaps you're introduced to DID in a movie or TV show, or maybe you have been diagnosed with the disorder, or you are a therapist that wants to learn more about working with a client that has it.
Whatever the case may be, we are glad you are here to learn all about some out-of-the-box healing modalities that can be used to help someone heal from traumas that led to DID. You are making a difference by choosing to listen to this podcast today because there is more to trauma healing than just talking, and people with dissociative identity disorder often need multiple healing options.
You can help dispel myths about DID and help spread awareness by sharing this podcast with a friend or loved one. Please visit acoupleofmultiples.com. Together, we can make a difference by taking the disorder out of dissociative identities. Hello there, and thank you for tuning in to this marvelous 11th episode with Drew
and Garden System, a couple of multiples. As you learned from our previous episodes, we are a married couple that were both diagnosed with dissociative identity disorder, or DID. We have both spent years in therapy trying multiple clinical interventions and other healing modalities to help us live our best lives possible. We can't wait to share even more of our incredible healing journey with all of you.
So I was thinking about our first cool way to heal that we're going to talk about in this episode, knowing that I haven't had any official music therapy sessions, although Garden System will get to that because she has. One can't deny the extreme healing nature of rolling your car windows down on a bright, warm, breezy day in the middle of rush hour traffic, 2 inches away from the half-awake bloke in the car next to you. But with your windows down and your head hanging half out the window, feeling the soft breeze in your face, you don't see any of this crazy rush hour traffic because you've got your music blaring to your most favorite song. You're off in your own little world, singing with your good old pipes like this was your job, like you were born to sing. You aren't caring about that person next to you, or the workday ahead, or the work you just left, or the appointment you just had, or the kids you're about to pick up, or the million things you got to do. Nope, because the music takes you away to a different place, and you are free. And sometimes music takes you back to when a song was playing, that time, years ago. It takes you back to that very place, and you weep and cry and let it all out, and somehow, magically, feel better after you're done. There's no denying it. There is something very healing about music.
This is so true. Having playlists for certain feelings, memories, and even lists for certain parts of yourselves has been extremely helpful in even the darkest of times in our lives. I remember reading a meme on social media that said something kind of like, "Don't ask me how I got through such and such. Ask me what music I listen to." If you really want to learn about a person and what they have been through, just listen to some of their favorite songs and pay close attention to the lyrics. One song that we listened to after our divorce from our ex-husband was Taylor Swift's "You're Not Sorry."
Creating playlists to get yourselves through hard times? Yep, I've created many a playlist. One of my favorite types of playlists is the confidence-building ones. When you want to get yourself pumped up. Life takes a lot of bravery and guts, so why not put on a song like Unstoppable by Sia or Raise Your Glass by Pink to help yourselves feel wrong in all the right ways. When I think back to when I was growing up, music saved me. I started playing the flute and piano when I was 9 years old. I spent hours practicing alone in my room. I'd get lost in the music. I started writing my own music. I'd record one part on my cassette tape player. Yeah, I know I'm dating myself. And then I'd play another part along with it as I played the tape back. I started playing in band at school. I saved up money to buy a piccolo, and then I played in an orchestra. I started private lessons, and my mom finally allowed me to join marching band my senior year of high school. I also took AP Music my senior year and learned how to write 4-part harmony. I would write music during math class and also when I should have been eating my lunch. Music was such a happy part of my life, a place that took my focus off the bad things. I was safe when I was playing an instrument.
Playing music and listening to music can be very therapeutic. When we participated in music therapy, the therapist would play certain songs and hand us the lyrics typed out on paper. We would read through the lyrics, reflect on them, and then listen to the song. Then we would talk about the song and lyrics afterwards as well. I had a therapist that pulled up a song on YouTube that we had discussed in a previous session, and she played it at the beginning of our next session. We talked about what it meant for us, and we reflected on those lyrics together. That particular song was called Blessings by Laura Story, and the lyrics that we were contemplating were, what if our healing comes through tears? We had been struggling with the ability to cry. We would not and could not cry for so long. We had a lot of shameful thoughts around tears, and discussing this song was pretty pivotal to allow our system to release a lot of the sadness we were holding inside our body. Now, Maisie, our 14-year-old part, still doesn't like to cry and often attempts to prevent tears, but she's restricted this blocking of emotions to times when we are not alone. So at least she will step back and let us get it all out as long as no one is around to see.
We also have brought songs to therapy over the years and talked about what we related to in the lyrics. Sometimes you finally figure out how to say something through listening to someone else's song lyrics. But I also discovered that one does not need lyrics or words at all to express emotion through music. Playing the orchestra especially taught me this. Classical music tells stories that paint vast scenes in your mind and elicits a myriad of emotions while playing or listening. A word is never spoken, so music can be a form of expression where no words are needed. Because let's face it, sometimes there are no words for our experiences. And it's nice to have ways to express ourselves where we don't need words at all. My most formal type of music as therapy was when I was in the midst of doing EMDR, which we talked about in our previous episode on multiple cool ways to heal. EMDR is eye movement desensitization and reprocessing, which uses bilateral stimulation to help reprocess targeted memories. My dear friend Jamie Pollock talked about using EMDR music or bilateral music to help process through things. And the really cool thing about this is it can be done at home. You can download EMDR music or bilateral music. I got mine off Amazon Music, and you listen with headphones or earbuds. Listening with headphones or earbuds is important because the tones must travel from one ear to the other, activating both sides of the brain, bilateral stimulation. My therapist has reminded me to try this at home when I was having a hard time between sessions. It really does help.
We have tried this on our own as well. It is helpful for us to pick soft, easygoing music with slow beats that alternate between the right and left earbuds. We find it very calming. We also have a musical drum that we can play. Our therapist has one in her office, and we have one at home. Its notes are higher and lighter as opposed to the typical deep throng you get with beating a drum. I like the one we use with our therapist the most because we can play it together. She holds one drumstick and I have the other, so we can take turns hitting the different notes to create songs together. We find playing this musical drum with our therapist to be very co-regulating.
The musical drum Garden System is referring to is called a steel tongue drum. It kind of reminds me of playing the bells or xylophone. Oh gee, here comes Garden System with the drum. Let's play it together so our listeners can hear it.
Here we go. Haha, that was awesome.
It's pretty and relaxing. We like playing. There are many types of drums. My therapist has a few different drums in her office. She has used a drum to help break up energy we were trying to shift in parts of my body that felt stuck. I would stand up and she would take a handheld drum and drum around my body to move and break up the energy. Definitely outside of the box, but outside the box stuff sometimes works for people. Drumming definitely has a way of moving energy. My therapist also has a large drum that sits on a stand on the ground and has large mallets to drum with. It has a loud, low sound when you hit that drum. We have spent a few sessions playing that drum together, making different rhythms. It's interesting to note that different parts of myself have different reactions to playing the drums. It seems for some that they feel a little apprehensive about making noise, about being known, about taking up space. So being allowed and invited to be loud and make noise and be known can be a healing experience. I know there are people out there that know a lot more about sound than I do, but I have been in meditation and yoga sessions where sound healing was used with singing bowls. It's absolutely beautiful, and you can feel the vibration of the sound throughout your whole body. My therapist let me borrow one of her singing bowls one day to take home and try. It was really cool. I would definitely like to own and learn more about how to use singing bowls and learn more about sound healing in general in the future.
Yes, we are highly interested in becoming a certified sound healer ourselves. We tried out a quartz singing bowl at the rock shop once, and the sounds of it could be felt right into the very center of our being. The vibrations have an effect on your nervous system for sure. We've read a number of articles about sound and music that includes research studies on the benefits of making music together. We'll be sure to include some links in our show notes. The vagus nerve runs right through our whole body and is connected to so many different organs. Music and sounds that come from the singing bowls can help calm the vagus nerve, which in turn helps our whole body to begin to relax and recognize that the stress or the danger from threat is over.
Another way to help your body and mind to relax, center, and focus is by meditating. There are so many scripted meditations that people have recorded out there to listen to. They're easy to find anywhere you can download or buy music. Many you can find on the internet and are free of charge. Search for meditation or meditation music. Meditating is really quite simple. The hard part about doing it is just deciding to do it and actually doing it. First, you find a quiet spot to sit down and close your eyes. You can put on meditation music to listen to while your eyes are closed and you breathe, focusing on your breath. Meditation increases calmness and physical relaxation. It improves psychological balance and increases your overall wellness, which promotes healing, both of your body and mind. There is no rule for how long you must meditate to see benefits. Any amount of time will be beneficial. But as with anything beneficial, the more you meditate, the more benefits you will see. Meditation has been proven to strengthen areas of your brain responsible for memory, learning, attention, and self-awareness.
You may have heard a little myth about people with dissociative disorders and meditation. Like, we shouldn't do meditations because it encourages dissociation. Dissociation is not inherently bad or maladaptive. Meditation is a form of dissociation, and it can be beneficial for people like us too. For us, it's easier if we keep our meditations pretty short because it is easier for our minds to wander. Meditation has been helpful in creating safer, calmer places in our internal world. We use an app called Insight Timer where we can search for meditations based on how much time you want to spend, whether we want it to be guided or to include music. Some of them you have to pay for and others are free within the app. We've only ever used the free ones. Some of them have the sounds of singing bowls or gongs. And while the sound of the singing bowls on the app is nice, it's not quite the same as playing an actual singing bowl. But back to the meditation part. Most of the meditations we prefer are just musical ones. There are a lot of different ones you can try out to see what works for you.
I tend to prefer guided visualizations, meditations, or imagery. The first time I was exposed to guided imagery was in school during PE on some rainy day. My PE teacher would periodically have us lay down on mats on the gym floor, turn off the lights, and turn on a guided visualization, some person with a calm, soothing voice. I remember one specifically that walked us through a meadow that came to a stream and ended at a waterfall with a place to sit. It was relaxing, and I loved it. I like thinking about peaceful, serene places to sit and relax. And like Garden System was saying, I have also used visualization to help change my internal world to be a calm and peaceful place for myself and my others to be.
Visualization can be very powerful. The hard part can be trying to visualize something that you have no concept for, like that sense of safety, calmness, or happiness. With childhood neglect and abuse, many people have never experienced a sense of safety or calm and have absolutely no idea what that is like. It can also be hard for those with aphantasia, which is the inability to see pictures with your mind. One of the reasons that I like the Insight Timer app is that they can come with pictures. YouTube videos of meditations and guided imagery also come with visuals that can be helpful for seeing things that you might not otherwise be able to imagine. For ourselves, our memory and thoughts are mostly images, without words attached to them. Some of our favorite visualizations are of waterfalls, being deep in the forest, or being on the beach or out on the water in some form. When I was little, my father owned a sailboat, and being out on the ocean was one of my favorite things. All I ever wanted to do was touch the water. I was always trying to lean over the side of the boat to touch the water. So it is pretty easy for us to conjure up images of the water.
Yes, using what you're familiar with and love in your waking hours can help with being able to visualize similar places when trying to meditate and relax. Another way that I have found to heal, especially my connection with my own body, is by practicing yoga. Honestly, I never thought I'd gather enough guts to try yoga. It has taken a lot to develop any sort of comfort level with my body. I started off taking a yoga class with a couple of friends that I already had from a wellness center I frequented. Even among friends and being in the back row, it was uncomfortable. I still pushed myself to go, and one thing I noticed after going several times was how good I felt after. I felt in my body. I hadn't noticed up until that point how disconnected from my body I was. Of course, the connection faded after a few hours after yoga, so I also discovered in order to feel a continuous connection with my body, which led to me feeling grounded and really here on this earth, I would need to practice yoga daily in order to essentially reprogram the connection between my body and my mind. This caused me to look the hatred I developed for my body in the eye. It was uncomfortable, but extremely important for my overall healing. When the beloved Wellness Center changed ownership, I decided to seek one-on-one yoga sessions with a friend I had made at the Wellness Center. She was amazing, and it was exactly what I needed. I highly recommend one-on-one sessions with a yoga instructor if you're nervous about starting off in a group class of people. It was much more comfortable for my brain to feel like I wasn't being seen by a lot of people while trying to gain this connection with my body. At the beginning of yoga, I felt like I didn't really know what I was doing or wasn't, quote, good at it. But this was alleviated by working with my friend one-on-one. When she moved away, my yoga practice died, and I am currently seeking a trauma-informed yoga instructor here where I live now to pick this practice back up because of the many benefits I experienced during that time period. Survivors of physical and sexual abuse often disown their body or disconnect from their bodies and dissociate because of the pain they experience from the abuse. Their connection between their mind and body is often severed as a protective measure because of what they endured. When the survivor is finally away from the situation of abuse, their mind and body continue to feel disconnected from one another, and they may not be aware of the severity of it until they experience feeling connected to their body because of participation in practice like yoga or a sport or physical activity of some sort. And to be quite frank, the disconnect between my mind and body was really noticeable for me once I started to be in romantic relationships. There's nothing like experiencing sexual intimacy after a childhood of abuse to let you know that you need help reconnecting in a healing, positive way to your body. Huge wake-up call for me.
Yoga is something we have yet to try. It scares us, honestly. We can feel ourselves dissociating and freezing up a bit just as you start talking about yoga. There are a lot of YouTube videos on yoga, so you can even try this out all by yourself in your home if you're curious about trying it. It can be scary to start feeling connected to your body. We spent so many years disconnecting from it because it was our only escape. Something we like to do that helps us center ourselves internally and allows us to connect with our bodies a bit more is EFT tapping. EFT simply stands for Emotional Freedom Technique. There is an app called the Tapping Solution that will show you exactly how to tap, where to tap, and will provide guided tapping sessions that will even tell you what to say. You simply tap certain points on your body while making statements. For example, you tap on the point of your eyebrow, the side of your eye, right below your nose, etc. There is a certain order to follow, so you'll want to watch the videos available on the app to help you learn. You start off by acknowledging what you are feeling and then give yourself permission to shift. For example, you might say, I am feeling anxious. I have a lot going on. It makes sense that I feel anxious. I give my body permission to relax. We have a hard time knowing what to say, so we like to follow the guided exercises available on the app, so all we have to do is repeat after their sayings. Although, eventually, you'll want to be able to say your own statements. Some clients that I worked with as a student intern used EFT tapping to help with anxiety and chronic pain. One of them said that she hated meditations and guided visualizations, which made her hesitant to try the EFT tapping. But she gave it a go and reported back that it was the first intervention that actually made a difference in her pain levels. EFT tapping works really fast, and we personally feel relief in panic and anxiety almost instantly.
I have done EFT tapping with a couple of my therapists as well, and I found it to be helpful and a positive experience. In our previous episode on cool ways to heal with dissociative identity disorder, you also mentioned the anger wall you did. You want to tell these fine peeps about your experience?
Absolutely. Anger wall had one of the biggest impacts on our ability to come together as a team internally. So, once upon a time, we were inpatient and participated in a program that was directed by Dr. Colin Ross, and Anger Wall was one of the many interventions used in the program. It's done as a part of group therapy, actually. One person participates in the Anger Wall intervention while everyone else watches you. It's a bit scary to have everyone watch you, and it's scary to watch someone else do it. It can be pretty triggering to witness as it involves dealing with anger. You can spend days beforehand preparing by creating 3 different lists of various statements. The first list of statements is created using a sentence starter. I am angry because. You write as many as you need. The second list is I am sad because. And the third list is created from the starter I am. Once you have your list together, a lot of internal preparation is needed. Which parts will be present during the anger wall session? Who will be speaking? Where will your littles be? Who will be keeping an eye out internally and deciding on a code word to alert the therapist if there's a problem internally and you need to pause? We had the mindset to approach the anger wall as if all of our parts were heading into battle and everyone inside needed a job or responsibility. Parts that did not need to participate or that were scared could tuck themselves away in the internal world, and another part would keep an eye out for them inside to make sure that they stayed tucked away and protected. The rest of us stood in a formation with one part in front, parts on each side, parts behind, and so forth. Everyone was touching each other internally, whether by holding hands or placing a hand on their shoulder, and we combined our strengths together. So, essentially, we were all present at once. Once we were all connected in that sense, we came into the room where everyone was watching. A huge piece of plywood was propped up against the wall, and there was a bucket of clay balls. Using our list of statements that we had created earlier, we started saying our I am angry because statements out loud. We would say a statement and then chuck a clay ball against the wall. The resounding thunk it made and seeing it squish up and stick to the board was extremely satisfying. Over and over and over again, we'd say a statement and then throw the ball. There were a few times that the therapist had us pause and take a deep breath, and then we'd quickly resume. We exhausted all the statements we had written down and even added a few more. We could physically feel the anger leaving our body, and we knew when we were done with the anger. And quite naturally, the sadness came. We sat down in a chair, and the therapist sat down in a chair directly across from us and placed the bucket between us. We would then start saying the statements from our I am sad because list. We'd hold the clay ball, say the statement, then allow the clay ball to fall into the bucket. The tears flowed freely here in front of everyone. We said all our statements, some of them more than once, and again, even added a few until it felt as if all the sadness had poured itself out of us. Then we stood back up, and even before we began the third part, we could already feel some strength returning inside. We rattled off our I am statements and chucked those clay balls at the wall once again. This last phase was called the empowerment phase, and we were flying high. It was one of the most exhilarating moments we have ever experienced. We could feel all of ourselves, all at once, working together as a team for the first time. It was as if we had taken our power back. We could say things like, I am strong, I am a good mother, and I am worthy of love, and actually believe it. Afterwards, you sit and face everyone that watched, and they tell you what they experienced as they watched. There is a powerful connection that happens there that helps you realize that you are not alone. Trauma can really make you feel isolated and like there is something wrong with you rather than the fact that there was something wrong with the people who hurt you. Participating in the anger wall was one of the first times where it was okay to be angry, and I wasn't shamed for being angry. Bad things happen to us, and anger is an appropriate reaction. The anger wall allowed me to express that anger in a healthy way and to move through it so I could mourn and express my sadness, and then reclaim all of me. I went ahead and purchased a large piece of plywood, and my therapist ordered some clay balls, and we planned to recreate and do anger wall again at some point. It was just an incredible healing experience.
I totally want to do this. Maybe we could set up our own in the backyard one day, wifey. I could see how it would be both scary and empowering to have a whole group of people watch while you did the anger wall. I think it is important for people to see and hear that they are not alone in their feelings, and having the opportunity for the group that was watching to tell you how they were able to relate and what the experience was like for them watching would be very validating.
It's super intense to watch. Seeing others and their anger can be triggering as well. It can be hard to stay present while watching someone else do anger wall. It definitely stirred up a lot of emotions. I remember how incredibly quiet people became when they transitioned to their I am sad statements. I couldn't always hear what they were saying, but that was okay. The energy from the sadness could be felt. We, however, remember wanting the others to hear our sad statements. Sometimes it was hard to utter the words at all, but we did our best to try and make sure we were loud enough to be heard. It was like we needed the witness of our sadness. Being heard is healing too.
Being heard is healing, which is why doing this podcast has been surprisingly healing for me. We are being heard. Thank you, everyone, for listening. We have one last out-of-the-box healing modality to talk about, and it will probably be something you're hearing about for the first time because it definitely has to do with new technology. We have both had the insanely fortunate opportunity to have the Quantum Energy Wellness Bed be a part of our healing journey. The Quantum Energy Wellness Bed uses a combination of several healing modalities together, including heat, sound, and quantum energy to create a quantum field that supports the body to reach optimum wellness quickly. When you lay on the wellness bed, it creates far infrared thermal heat, which has been used for healing for thousands of years. This heat helps promote blood circulation, detoxification, lymphatic cleansing, pain relief, and deep relaxation. The wellness bed also emits sound waves that have profound healing effects on the body's cells and biological systems. The Quantum Energy Wellness Bed also utilizes microcurrent stimulation, an electrotherapy that has been proven to increase circulation, promote cellular healing, and reduce pain. In combination, these modalities create a standing quantum field as well as biophotons or light particles that the body can absorb. We will include the website for the Quantum Energy Wellness Bed in our show notes so you can have access to more information if you wish.
That might sound like a lot of scientific jargon talk, or even a little bit like woo-woo talk. But we have had some amazing experiences while lying in this quantum field. It's made out of titanium and it is heated, so it is very warm to lay on. It can be a little difficult to get comfortable on it at first, and I thought that I would be too hot, but I wasn't. It was just right, really. It's hard to know what to expect, and while I don't understand all of the science behind it, I know that we were able to experience some profound shifts in our thinking and in our internal world. For us, it felt very spiritual on one hand and also very introspective. We felt much more connected to all of our parts and found it easier to communicate internally as well. Jenny had been in conflict with another part for quite some time and had been doing EMDR, and then when we started using the Quantum Energy Wellness Bed, it gave those two the opportunity to come to an understanding of this part's behavior. This part ended up giving Jenny a farewell, saying that she was no longer needed because, well, Jenny was not scared anymore of that memory. When you're on the bed, physically, you're just lying there. Mentally, however, it is as if you travel everywhere. We forget we're on the bed most of the time.
What's cool about the Quantum Energy Wellness Bed is that everyone that uses it has their own personal experience of it. However, I do relate very much with Garden System's description of it feeling both spiritual and introspective. Unlike talking with a therapist, the type of healing one does while on the wellness bed is guided by you and you alone. You are with yourselves and your higher selves, if you believe in such a thing. And the quantum field that the wellness bed creates personally gave me a bigger picture perspective when thinking about my internal world, others in my system, and the past experiences that created them. In my opinion, the ability to gain a wider perspective in combination with no interference from any other source besides yourselves creates the perfect environment for rapid resolution and healing of both body and mind. After just a few hour-long sessions on the Quantum Energy Wellness Bed, I was able to resolve major internal conflict and create a positive, cooperative internal landscape in place of the fear and pain that used to exist there. I highly recommend trying a Quantum Energy Wellness Bed if you ever get the chance to do so.
Yes, we like that it is a very autonomous thing to experience. It gives you a space to heal yourself, really. After we spend time on this wellness bed, we do take 30 minutes to an additional hour to process our experience. For us, we've struggled to really have the words to say, but that's not unusual for our system. We've always struggled with verbalizing our experiences. Most of the time, we end up writing about everything we thought about and experienced, which also helps us draw conclusions and find resolutions to a number of things that have been troubling our system. Some examples include coming to terms with our anger at our mother, grief about our grandmother, and various internal conflicts between parts of ourselves.
Yeah, super helpful stuff. In summary, in this episode, we talked about multiple cool ways to heal, such as music as therapy and music therapy, sound healing, meditation, yoga, EFT tapping, anger wall, and the quantum energy wellness bed. There are multiple other cool ways to heal, and during our short break in May between seasons 1 and 2, we will be interviewing several guests about other healing modalities. And drum roll, please. For our next episode, which will be our season finale, we will be talking about reclaiming authenticity, implementing boundaries, and creating a support system.
I can't believe we're getting ready to wrap up season 1 of our podcast. These past few weeks have been a roller coaster ride of fun, education, and getting to know so many of all of you out there on our social media platforms. You can find links to our Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook pages by checking out our website at acoupleofmultiples.com. You can also sign up for our mailing list if you haven't yet, so you can stay up to date on all the exciting things we have been working on behind the scenes, and you will know when season 2 drops. We will be opening up a new online community on the Circle platform, offering educational courses, producing some bonus podcast episodes, and all the important information about all of these things will be sent via our mailing list.
Thank you for hanging out with a couple of multiples today. From your hosts, Drew
and Garden System, thank you for listening to A Couple of Multiples, the reality of dissociative identity disorder.
This podcast is intended for educational purposes and is not a replacement for therapy.
Listening to this podcast does not constitute a therapeutic relationship with the hosts or any potential guest speakers.
If you enjoyed this episode, please leave us a review. We would love to hear what you enjoyed the most.
You can visit our website at acoupleofmultiples.com for additional information and resources, and to also subscribe to our mailing list to receive future updates.
Remember, you matter and are loved for being all of yous.